Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV and welcome to this next episode in the series where we look at tactical analysis on Manchester City players. Now, from the feedback that we received on the Fernandinho versus Rodri tactical analysis that we put out last week, people said, please, can you do some more? I really enjoyed it. So this episode is all about Riyad Mahrez. Now, in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to break down some of the stats, some of the facts around Riyad Mahrez. We're going to go back and we're going to look at some earlier games in his career when he played for Leicester City and was absolutely devastating for them. Now, if we take a look at his roll of honour whilst at Leicester, we only have to look down. He was a 2016 Premier League winner. He was in 2016, he was in the PFA Team of the Year. 2016, he was also the PFA Players Player. 2016, he was Leicester City's Player of the Year. In 2016, he was nominated as a Ballon d'Or candidate. In total, when we look at his games for Leicester, 179 games, 48 goals. For Algeria, 46 games, 11 goals. Make that 12 because he scored a game the other night. For City, 44 games and 12 goals. So in total, he's played 291 games, 71 goals and 62 assists, which is pretty impressive. He was also named Algerian Footballer of the Year in 2015 and 2016. So, as you can see, Mahrez is some player, a very special player. But in this series, what we'd like to do in this particular, episode we'd like to do is we'd like to look at the tactical analysis as why he was so brilliant in certainly that 2016-2017 season and the 2018 season for Leicester. Yet when he's come to Manchester City, let's say he struggled a little bit last season. Now, I don't think it's all down to Riyad Mahrez. I do believe it's potentially Pep's system doesn't suit or hasn't suited for this previous season. Now, what I did was, over the last 4 days, I've watched quite a number of Manchester City games when Riyad Mahrez has been involved and played. But what I did was I went back and I looked through several Leicester City games when he was there and looked at his performance in some of the games where he was absolutely outstanding. Now, I narrowed it down to 2 games, but the one game that I'm going to do a tactical analysis on is... and that is the West Brom 1, Leicester City 4. And that was on the 10th of March 2018, just before we signed him in the summer. Now, we know, and also I want to also mention about formations. We know Algeria have played a 4-2-3-1. They've also now changed to a 4-3-3 with Mahrez involved. At Leicester City, they have played under various managers like Claudio Ranieri and Claude Puel. They have played a 4-2-3-1, a 4-4-2, and most of the time a 4-4-1-1 system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into the video now. And what I did is, like I did on the last one, I did a tactical analysis on that particular game, and I chose the West Brom game because I watched it back, the whole game, and he was absolutely exceptional, amazing. And he was given man of the match. He scored a goal, got an assist, and he was wonderful. And when I look back at that particular game, everything that City fans now look at Riyad Mahrez and think, well, he's not really doing it, is all because of the system. Because in this game, he was exceptional. So I'm going to hand you over to the video that I made, and I'll come back later and chat about that video. Okay, so what we've got here is we're going into the Leicester City game in 2018 versus West Brom. Now this, I watched 2 particular videos on Riyad Mahrez where he was exceptional. And I've chosen this particular game to see how Riyad Mahrez plays in a completely different way for Leicester City than he did do in the 2018-19 season for Manchester City. So as you can see here, look how deep Riyad Mahrez is. Yeah, we've got people backing off him. We've got all of this space for him to work into and start off the particular move. Out here, this is where Riyad Mahrez would generally be, with a defender next to him. Now, in this next clip, what we've got here, as you can see, Riyad Mahrez is circled yet again. Look at his position, where he is on the right-hand side, deep, almost on the halfway line. Now, look, the Leicester players that are ahead of him. Got one out here, 2, 3, Jamie Vardy, 4, Okazaki making a run across here. 4 Leicester players way ahead of where Riyad Mahrez is. But look at the West Bromwich Albion defenders, 1, 2, 3. Look how many here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plus this player, 6. Look how they're pressing. And look at the counter-attacking style of play that Leicester played at the same time. And look how deep Riyad Mahrez is in this particular position. Now, this time he's on the left-hand side. So what you can see is I've split the Leicester half into basically thirds. So you've got here zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. This time Riyad Mahrez pops up deep again, this time 10 yards into his own half on the left-hand side. So he's given that freedom to play and move across this particular line here and across here. But what he does this time, if I was to show you the actual video, what he did was he played an absolutely beautiful pass that dissected the right-hand side centre-back and the full-back and put, I think it was Damari Gray in around the back. So again, look at his position. We move forward to this particular one here. Again, look how deep he is compared to where he plays for Man City. There you go. That is where he normally plays for Manchester City. This time we've got a fullback, possibly Danny Simpson out there. But on this occasion, he cuts inside and he plays an absolute worldie that takes out basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 West Brom players. And it plays it between their centre-backs and their fullback for the likes of Chilwell to run onto. So you can see again, look how deep he is. And this is the key to it. This is what it's all about. This is why he was so successful at Leicester City compared to how he plays in a Pep Guardiola system. Now, if we move on to the next slide here, this time he's in the same game. He's back on the left-hand side. Look, that is where he normally plays. Now, if we take Mahrez in this deep line role, here we can see Harry Maguire. If we take the Leicester players that are actually ahead of him, 1, 2, 3, 4, and another player out of shot here, 5. 5 players are ahead of Riyad Mahrez. How often have you seen Riyad Mahrez occupy this position or this position here with that many Leicester City players ahead of him, or replace them, Manchester City players ahead of him? On this occasion, he plays an absolutely worldie of a David Silva ball that dissects the centre-back and the full-back in this position, right the way through for Chilwell to play a brilliant cross into the box for the likes of Vardy and Okazaki to run onto. Now, how many times have we seen Riyad Mahrez in this position? Look where Jamie Vardy is, ahead of what would be Sergio Aguero. And he's taken a ball through, controlled it perfectly, and he slots it in this particular game and scores a goal. So he's been given license to play deep, in his own half, on either side, going forward, playing balls forward, playing absolute killer balls like Kevin De Bruyne, and also being in this position here, which we just don't see him in that position for Man City. Now, if I show you here, here's a classic example of how teams or Leicester City set up against opposition teams, drawing opposition teams on and then hitting them on the counter-attack. And what you can see here is clearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the opposition players in Leicester City's own half. We've got one trying to run back here, but look at the space that Mahrez has got here. All he's looking for is the breakdown in this area here. Look at the run. And in this occasion, what happens is Vardy was initially, when they won the ball back here, he made the run to draw these players away. It created a massive amount of space here for Riyad Mahrez to run into. And obviously we've got another additional Leicester player running forward to support as well. How many times at Manchester City have we seen Mahrez with this much space? We just simply haven't. As you can see here again, this was against Newcastle. Newcastle were 1-0 up. What you've got again is just look how far forward Newcastle's midfield and forward line are. So basically, Leicester have allowed them to come forward with the ball, won it quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Newcastle players just in this area here. Mahrez took up a role here, which is pretty sort of similar to the way he normally plays for Leicester. But what this time he's done the David Silva thing, the Kevin De Bruyne thing, the Bernardo Silva thing, and he's looked for the space between those centre-backs and all of these that have been committed forward. And he's found that particular area here, which, as we know, David Silva loves to occupy. So it shows you he's got the intelligence to make those particular runs and occupy that absolute space that is necessary. That all he has to do here is a ball out wide to Chilwell or out wide to another player, a quick ball inside, they drop off. Vardy is just looking for that particular gap here. Mahrez is free, absolutely free. And we've got Simpson who can bomb forward, or Kyle Walker can bomb forward and occupy this space. So if he does decide to turn inside, he's got an option to play it out there. So you can see the freedom that Mahrez is playing with in this particular graphic here. We go forward. Now on this particular graphic, what we've got is this is from the West Bromwich Albion game against Leicester, when he had an absolutely incredible game. He basically ran the whole show. He was superb, probably one of his best games he's played in a Leicester shirt from an analysis point of view. We've got Schmeichel in net, Simpson, Morgan, Maguire and Chilwell. We know Simpson and Chilwell like to get forward, just like Walker and Mendy. We've got Iborra and Ndidi, and those two did swap around during the game. We've got Gray playing on this side, Mahrez here, and we've got Okazaki and Vardy. Now, Leicester played in basically a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1, and Okazaki sort of generally sort of occupied this area here, giving license to Vardy to spread around. But as you can see in this particular sort of format here that we've set it up with, Mahrez is still on the right hand side, but basically what he does is he occupies this space here. Yeah, we've got Iborra can move forward, he can move into that area here. Mahrez loved to drop deep, he loved to be able to pick the ball up here. We've got Okazaki making runs across here, dragging players away. Mahrez also has the option of picking the ball up here and driving forward. Simpson moving into Mahrez's position so he can play the ball back, very similar to what he did in the 2018-19 season for City. But what we saw mainly is these players making runs. But look, and the key to this is look at the red dots. The red dots are the opposition team. These are the West Brom players in this particular game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got 5 against potentially 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 there. 5 against 5. Out of position, we've got one of their players here, 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 and here. So that's because they're sitting back, allowing the opposition to push forward, and then very quickly hitting on the break, allowing the main man at Leicester, which was Mahrez, all of this space to work in here. Huge amounts of space on a football pitch. Absolutely massive. So it shows you why he was given the freedom. When given the ball quickly, he could cause so much damage. And as we know, He was so good at going that way, playing it back and moving inside. He was also good at coming inside. These players making runs to drag these players away. And we know he occupied this area here where Vardy is, and his shots were exceptional. Scored plenty of goals from this area for Leicester City. Now, when the rumour was announced that Riyad Mahrez was going to Manchester City, one of the tactical analysis teams from an article I read said this is the potential options that Riyad Mahrez could play in a Manchester City formation. And what they provided was a left wing option. We haven't really seen him play that role. They offered a right wing option. They offered him in a striker's role, which again he hasn't played in that particular role. And they also offered him in a central midfield role. This is this classic sort of number 8 role, if you wanted to call it, or a number 10 role. Now, we know he's not been given many opportunities at Manchester City to occupy this position here. But if you see where they play him here, what they're doing is, of all of those graphics I've just shown you, look how deep inside he is actually playing. That is not a right wing position in a proper Pep Guardiola system. This is the heat map of Riyad Mahrez when he plays in the right wing position for Man City. There, and there. Look how close he is to this line. You would almost replicate that on this side with the likes of Sterling or Leroy Sané. Or Mahrez if he was to swap on this side. Pep likes to play it right out here. Right out here. So this really is too far inside of what the tactical analysis team were guessing he might play. This is the position that I think Riyad Mahrez would really, really love to operate in, but maybe more in the gap between those two positions here. So maybe in this position. So moving on to the this slide here, and what basically we've got is I've taken the team, the majority of the main people from last season, and tried to look at how defences, and I went back and looked at a load of Man City videos and looking at how did the defences and the team formation set up with the opposite in regards to the opposition. So this time we've got Edison in there. I put Company in because he played the majority towards the end, and Laporte, Zinchenko played the most with Walker. I've left Fernandinho in here. I've done a mixture. I've done a KDB and Bernardo so I can fit Mahrez in the team. David Silva, who mainly played all season in this number 10 role. I've put Sterling on the left, which he often did last season. Sergio Aguero up front, and this time Mahrez playing his normal position that he does do when he plays for Manchester City. But if we look at the red dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They are significantly different positions to when I showed you previously the actual Leicester against Leicester City and how the opposition set up and how they got mainly caught on the counter-attack. The problem being is that we, as Manchester City, have the ball the majority of the time, which means the opposition players occupy almost this triangle on the pitch. It's a defensive triangle. So when the likes of Mahrez playing in this high, wide right role here, gets the ball, 1, 2, 3, cover, 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 constantly crowding him. We've got the likes of Walker, so when he gets the ball, most of the time being a left-footed player, he cuts back and he plays a ball back here for Walker. And he might come inside, but there's still the cover there with the opposition. This is what makes this role so important, because we know Kevin De Bruyne loves space. We know Bernardo Silva, who when playing in this position, loves space. Now, most of the time, Bernardo Silva occupied this position. This was occupied by Kevin De Bruyne with David Silva, and unfortunately Mahrez was on the bench. But we know Bernardo Silva is a very tricky player. He can commit, and he's quite happy at taking players into these areas, playing the ball back here for a Kevin De Bruyne or a Kyle Walker. He's more than happy, Bernardo Silva, to actually drive and get into the danger area here, get penalties or pull balls back or cut balls back, etc. Mahrez being left-footed, very much one-footed, seems to just struggle a little bit with doing that. So you can see we've got David Silva can occupy these areas, looking for these spaces. Sterling can obviously go inside, he can go around the outside. And Aguero, as we know, he's just a fox in the box. He'll just look for wherever the space is, stop, and then move. So Sergio didn't really get many opportunities of crosses from Mahrez when he was occupying this particular role, and Mahrez was playing so far wide. That's why I think this role here for Riyad Mahrez is absolutely critical. So, looking at it finally with this sort of tactical analysis and looking at where opposition players may be, let's imagine if Pep actually does fit Mahrez somewhere into the team in this position that I've shown you before. He absolutely thrives on when he did do when he was at Leicester City. This time I put Bernardo Silva out on this wide right because we know from last season he occupied that role quite a lot and he's more than capable of filling that role. It could be Sterling. We could swap him over. And we could put Sane over here. But let's put Bernardo Silva in here. We've still got Sterling making these runs. We've still got, this time, Mendy, who can play brilliant crosses in. We've still got Aguero in his normal position. This time, Kevin De Bruyne can play as the 10, and we've dropped David Silva, for instance. Or if Kevin De Bruyne is not fit, we can have David Silva here. He can cut inside. He can occupy the players. But this time, we've still got a very similar setup from the opposition in this sort of almost triangular, setup, defensive mode. But what you've got here is Riyad Mahrez, absolutely tons of space, and that is what he thrives on. Absolutely thrives on, because we know he's technically very good. We know he's got a wonderful left foot that his control is exceptional. He can play balls through. He can go wide. He can play 1-2s and triangular football, which I talked about in the last, when I talked about the video that I did with the potential setups for Man City next season. He can play in these triangles. He can play in triangles here. He can drop deep if he wants to and let Walker be the one that goes and occupies that role. Bernardo Silva can come inside. He's basically a ball-playing midfielder rather than the position that Pep's giving, which is out wide. Now, Pep clearly is trying to somehow fit him into this system. But what we've got to understand as City fans is he ready for this role? Is he going to take Kevin De Bruyne's role here or Bernardo Silva's role here? If David Silva's coming to the end, maybe when David Silva leaves, maybe that'll even give more opportunities to Riyad Mahrez. And certainly for the 19-20 season, when Silva's coming to the end playing in this particular role here. But one thing's for certain, this does not suit Riyad Mahrez. The system, and I'm not saying it's down to Riyad Mahrez, I'm talking about Pep's system doesn't suit Riyad Mahrez. He would be far more effective playing in this particular role here, and I would suggest will impact the game. He'll be in the game so much more than he would do playing in his current role when he does get the opportunity of playing out here. So I just thought I'd give you that, analysis, looking at it. I hope you enjoyed that. And what we'll go back is I'll go back to the original video.
So hopefully watching that video, you can see actually maybe it's not Mahrez's fault. Maybe it's Pep Guardiola's system. Now, I'm not expecting Pep to change the whole system because of one particular player. However, what we can see is maybe some of the criticism of Riyad Mahrez, and from me and from many other City fans around the world, maybe it's down to the fact that he really isn't a natural out-and-out winger. As you saw in the tactical analysis video that you've just seen, he likes to drop deep. He likes to come into that number 8 role, whether it be just below the halfway line or just after the halfway line, pick up the ball and create, allowing other players to give him space. And we know when he's given space, running at defenders, he can be devastating, absolutely devastating. He's got the passing, he's got the crossing, he's got the goal-scoring instinct. He can drive into the box as well. But in a system where he's played as this out-and-out, wide player on the right-hand side, which is where he's mainly played for Manchester City, it just doesn't suit him whatsoever. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can somehow, and Pep can somehow fit Riyad Mahrez into this system, and maybe maybe play Bernardo Silva out on the right wing and Mahrez inside and give that a go. I'd like to see that in the pre-season friendly and just see whether that creates that spark in Riyad Mahrez, because for £60 million we know, and looking back on his trophy haul, his nominations and how fantastic he was for Leicester City, we hopefully now, after 12 months at Manchester City, next season we'll see the best of him, because he's truly devastating when he plays like he did in that analysis video against West Bromwich Albion. So hopefully you've enjoyed that video. There are some more coming. I've selected about 3 or 4 players that I'm going to do a full in-depth tactical analysis on. Like I said, it takes days. It's not one of these that you can just put together in, a few hours. You have to really do your research, look at all sorts of formations, and I hope you enjoy it. If you did, please don't forget, comment below the video if you want more, or a player in particular that you think I should really be talking about, then I'm more than happy to do so. Don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, click subscribe, hit the bell icon, and comment below the video. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. And yes, we'll be back for more. And this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. I hope you like that particular video, and we'll see you soon.